Commander Diana Hayes stood before the gleaming doors of the Galactic Council's central chamber, straightening her dress uniform one final time. After 15 years of deep space exploration and first contact scenarios, she thought she'd seen it all. She was wrong. "Commander, your heart rate exceeds acceptable parameters for diplomatic engagement," chirped the station's eye. "Please proceed to Relaxation Chamber 7 for mandatory calming exercises." Diana took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to disconnect the health monitor forcibly attached to her wrist. It had been 3 weeks since humanity's official invitation to join the Galactic Council, and she was already drowning in safety protocols, warning systems, and mandatory relaxation sessions. "I assure you, my vital signs are within normal human parameters," she replied, keeping her voice steady. The last time she'd shown frustration, the station had deployed what it called emergency mood stabilization foam. She still couldn't get the lavender smell out of her uniform. The doors parted with deliberate slowness. Quick movements apparently triggered anxiety in several member species. Inside, the chamber looked like the love child of a hospital waiting room and a bubble wrap factory. Every surface was padded, rounded, and equipped with emergency stabilizers. High Counselor Vexrith, a towering insectoid being whose species had somehow evolved to be terrified of their own shadows, presided over the session. Their massive compound eyes darted nervously around the room as Diana approached the speaker's podium. "The Council recognizes Commander Hayes of Earth," Vexrith announced, their translator struggling to maintain a calm tone. "Please approach at regulation speed and maintain approved anxiety levels." Diana walked forward, carefully counting her steps. Behind her, Lieutenant James Rodriguez, her security chief, followed at the maddeningly slow pace required by station protocols. She could feel his frustration radiating off him in waves that probably violated several safety regulations. "Esteemed council members," Diana began, "I come before you today to discuss the integration of humanity into the galactic community. While we appreciate your thorough safety considerations, some of these regulations are impacting our ability to function effectively." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Representative Xylax, a gelatinous being who looked like sentient blue jello, raised what might have been an appendage. "We have reviewed your species' history," Xylax's translator warbled. "Your kind regularly engages in high-risk activities, such as running for recreation." Several council members shuddered, "and consuming beverages at temperatures exceeding safety protocols." "You mean coffee?" James muttered under his breath, earning himself a warning chirp from his health monitor. "Furthermore," Vexrith added, mandibles clicking anxiously, "your species originated on what our classification system terms a death world. Your very existence violates numerous safety protocols." Diana felt a headache building. "With respect, High Counselor, humans have not just survived but thrived in our environment. Our adaptability and resilience are assets, not liabilities." "Assets?" Representative Xylax quivered dramatically. "Yesterday we observed one of your crew members using a writing implement with a pointed end, without a safety supervisor present." "A pencil," Diana said flatly. "You're talking about a pencil. An unregistered Class 3 sharp object." Vexrith's antenna twitched spasmodically. "And this morning, another human was detected moving at 47% above acceptable velocity in Corridor 7. He was walking normally," James interjected, his patience visibly fraying. "Humans can't actually walk as slowly as your regulations demand. We fall over." The chamber erupted in chaos. Emergency comfort drones deployed automatically, spraying calming pheromones and dispensing safety pamphlets. Diana watched as several council members activated personal force fields, apparently terrified by the mere suggestion of natural human movement speeds. "Order," Vexrith called, though their own voice quavered. "We must address these violations. The Council proposes immediate implementation of human civilization enhancement protocols." Diana's heart rate spiked, triggering another warning from her monitor. "What exactly does that entail?" The chamber's holographic display activated, showing a series of images that made Diana's blood run cold. Mandatory mobility restrictor suits, emotion suppression implants, something called a safety consciousness enhancement module. These measures will help your species achieve acceptable civilization standards, Xilax explained cheerfully. Within a few generations, humans might even qualify for unrestricted corridor access. Diana felt something snap inside her, probably another safety violation. She looked at James, saw the same realization in his eyes. They'd tried diplomacy. They'd followed protocols. They'd endured countless safety briefings and mandatory meditation sessions. But this was too far. High Counselor, Diana said, her voice dangerously calm. I believe we need to demonstrate exactly why humans don't need civilization enhancement. She reached into her pocket and pulled out an unauthorized pen. Multiple alarms began blaring simultaneously. The chamber's safety systems went into complete meltdown as Diana uncapped the pen. 3 different kinds of containment foam sprayed from the ceiling, and the emotional support drones began circling in panic patterns. Commander Hayes, Vexrith's voice hit a pitch that probably shattered crystal somewhere. Return that unauthorized writing implement to a designated containment unit immediately. You know what? Diana twirled the pen between her fingers, causing several council members to emit their species' version of a shriek. I don't think I will. In fact, she pulled out a small notebook. Actual paper, made from trees. Is that processed plant matter? Xilax's gelatinous form rippled in horror, without sanitization protocols. Lieutenant Rodriguez, Diana called out, ignoring the chaos around her. What's our current count of safety violations? James checked his datapad, grinning. Since we arrived at the station, 4,327. Most of them for excessive walking velocity and unauthorized display of teeth during facial expressions. Emotional security team to Chamber 3. The station's AI announced. Human diplomatic personnel displaying signs of noncompliance with civilization standards. Diana began writing in her notebook, the scratch of pen on paper causing nearby council members to activate personal force fields. Let me tell you about humanity's history with excessive regulation, she said conversationally. There was this thing called OSHA. Stop. Vexrith's mandibles clattered in distress. That writing implement hasn't been approved for diplomatic documentation. Think of the liability issues. Oh, I'm thinking about issues, all right. Diana looked up from her notebook. Like how your safety protocols nearly got 3 of my crew killed last week during a simple maintenance procedure, because they couldn't move fast enough to avoid a radiation leak. The chamber fell silent, save for the constant whir of safety drones and the gentle patter of still deploying foam. That was an unfortunate incident. Xilax wobbled uncomfortably. But if they had followed proper evacuation procedures, James stepped forward, ignoring his health monitor's frantic beeping. The approved evacuation speed is slower than a sleepwalking snail. Engineer Patel had to override 6 different safety locks just to shut down the reactor in time. Unauthorized emergency response. Someone in the chamber shouted. Where were the required anxiety counselors? Diana slammed her notebook down on the podium, making half the chamber jump. That's exactly the problem. While your species have engineered themselves into perfect safety, humans have kept our edge. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. But the protocols. Vexrith began. Watch this, Diana interrupted. She began walking, at normal human speed, toward the chamber's exit. Multiple alarms blared, warning lights flashed, and the station's AI began reciting safety violations in an increasingly distressed tone. Commander Hayes is exceeding acceptable bipedal velocity by 157%. Deploying emergency mobility restriction field. Diana dodged the field with a casual sidestep, causing several council members to faint dead away. You see, humans don't just survive despite danger. We evolved alongside it. It made us stronger, more resilient. She's demonstrating unauthorized agility. Xilax's translator somehow managed to convey both awe and horror. Quick, activate the mandatory meditation protocols. James pulled out his own pen. This one red ink, a color banned in diplomatic spaces for its aggressive implications, and began taking notes alongside Diana. Should we show them what humans call jogging? Let's not give them collective cardiac arrest just yet, Diana replied, though she was tempted. First, we need to make something very clear. She turned to face the council, standing straight and tall, her expression serious. Humanity did not cross the stars, survive our death world, and build a civilization just to be bubble-wrapped into mediocrity. We're not going to let you civilize the survival instincts out of us. But the statistics. Vexrith protested weakly. The safety ratings. Here's a statistic for you, Diana countered. In the 3 weeks we've been here, productivity in human sections has dropped by 82% due to your protocols. It takes us 4 hours to complete a 30-minute maintenance check because of all the safety paperwork. She walked back to the podium, deliberately triggering every motion sensor in her path. So here's what's going to happen. Either we revise these protocols to account for human physiological and psychological needs, or Xilax quivered. Diana smiled, showing teeth, a Class 2 aggression display according to council regulations, or we show you exactly why humans are classified as Deathworlders, starting with what we call speed walking. The chamber erupted into pandemonium. Emergency containment fields activated automatically, trapping everyone inside. Diana caught James's eye and nodded. Phase 1 of showing the council exactly what humans were capable of was complete. Now for the fun part. Throughout the station, other humans received Diana's coded signal. The time had come to demonstrate why overzealous safety protocols were, ironically, the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, at least when they prevented humans from doing what humans did best: adapting and overcoming. The revolution would not be safety certified. Throughout Galactic Council Station 147, humans began what would later be termed the Great Unsafe Demonstration. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Patel disabled the mandatory velocity restrictions on her maintenance exosuit and began actually fixing things at human speed. The station's efficiency ratings immediately jumped by 300%, causing several automatic systems to crash in disbelief. In the medical bay, Dr. Harrison started treating patients without filling out the required 47 pre-procedure safety forms. Sometimes, she announced to her horrified alien colleagues, "You have to treat the injury before completing the paperwork." The station's AI was having what could only be described as an existential crisis. Warning: multiple unauthorized efficiency improvements detected. Warning: humans operating at natural velocities. Warning: emergency paperwork protocols being ignored. I don't know how to process this. Diana watched the chaos unfold on the chamber's monitors, her smile growing wider with each new violation. Next to her, James was broadcasting the feed to every human on the station, a clear violation of information distribution protocols. This is madness. Vexrith's mandibles were clicking so fast, they sounded like tap dancers having a seizure. Your species is deliberately operating at peak efficiency without proper safety measures. Oh, we're just getting started, Diana replied. She keyed her comm unit. Phase 2, everyone. Show them what humans call multitasking. The resulting demonstration would give the Council's safety board nightmares for generations. As the human demonstration entered its second hour, something unexpected began to happen. Some of the younger alien staff started watching with interest rather than horror. A junior Xilaxian researcher named Blob, the closest pronunciation humans could manage, cautiously approached Diana. Your species, you move so quickly, yet you don't injure yourselves. How? It's called natural coordination, Diana explained, deliberately using her hands to gesture. Another safety violation. Humans evolved to move and think dynamically. All these safety protocols, They actually make us less safe because they force us to move in ways we weren't designed for. In the station's cafeteria, humans were demonstrating the art of drinking hot coffee and walking at the same time. Several alien scientists were taking furious notes, their safety tablets struggling to keep up with the dangerous display of multitasking. Fascinating. Blob wobbled thoughtfully. And these quick movements, this running, it's not just for emergencies. Sometimes we do it for fun, James offered. We call it jogging. For fun. The concept seemed to short-circuit several nearby universal translators. That's when Diana noticed something remarkable. While the older council members were still cowering behind their force fields, many of the younger aliens were showing signs of curiosity. Some were even attempting to move faster than regulation speed, though their idea of fast still made glaciers look hyperactive. Commander Hayes, the station's eye interrupted, its voice uncertain. I've been analyzing the efficiency data from the human sections. Despite operating outside safety parameters, productivity has increased by 724%. This does not compute. Diana exchanged glances with James. This was the opening they needed. The emergency council session that followed would go down in galactic history as the Great Recalibration. Diana stood before the chamber, this time without a health monitor in sight. Members of the council, she began. The past few hours have proven something we've been trying to tell you since we arrived. Humans aren't dangerous because we're uncivilized. We're successful because we've learned to balance safety with efficiency. Vexrith, who had finally emerged from under their desk, raised a trembling antenna. But the protocols need to be species-specific, Diana finished. What's safe for one species might be dangerous for another. Forcing humans to move at 1/10 our natural speed isn't making anyone safer. It's creating new hazards. She's right, Blob interjected, causing a stir among the council. My research team has been analyzing the data. Human efficiency rates under natural conditions are unprecedented, and their accident rates are actually lower when they're allowed to move normally. Diana nodded. We propose a new system, species-specific safety protocols, developed in cooperation with each member race's natural capabilities. No more one-size-fits-all regulations. The chamber erupted in discussion. Diana waited patiently, knowing this was the moment that would define human-alien relations for generations to come. Finally, Vexrith spoke. The Council recognizes the wisdom in this proposal, but how can we implement such a radical change? Diana smiled, with teeth, and this time nobody activated their force fields. We start small. First, humans get our own sections of the station, operated under human-appropriate safety standards. Other species can observe, learn, and maybe even try things our way if they're comfortable. And the paperwork? Someone asked hopefully. Reduced to actually necessary documentation, James answered. No more filing forms in triplicate, just to sharpen a pencil. The vote that followed was unanimous, though several council members insisted on submitting their votes from behind personal shields. As Diana left the chamber, she heard Blob asking James about something called speed walking lessons. 6 months later, Galactic Council Station 147 had been transformed. The human sections operated at full human efficiency, complete with hot coffee, normal walking speeds, and most shockingly, reasonable amounts of paperwork. Signs marked these areas clearly. Warning: human normal zone. Speeds may exceed standard safety protocols. More surprisingly, a growing number of alien species had begun requesting access to these zones. Under careful supervision, some had even started experimenting with human-style efficiency measures. The station's productivity had reached record levels. Diana sat in her office, enjoying an unauthorized temperature coffee, when Blob wobbled in, at nearly twice standard speed. Commander Hayes, they bubbled excitedly. I jogged today. Well, what humans would call a fast walk, but still. Diana grinned. How did it feel? Terrifying, Blob admitted, but also Exhilarating. I think I'm beginning to understand why humans do these things. As if to prove the point, a group of human engineers raced past the office, responding to a maintenance call at what would have once been considered a shocking velocity. Behind them, a young Vexrithian scuttled along, taking notes on emergency response protocols in human normal conditions. The station's AI had eventually adapted, though it still occasionally glitched when humans did particularly human things. Its new warning system had a distinctly resigned tone. Notice: humans operating at human normal parameters. Proceed at own risk. You know, Diana mused, watching another group of aliens cautiously trying out human-style walking speeds in the designated practice zone. Sometimes the safest thing you can do is admit that not everything needs to be perfectly safe. Blob wobbled in agreement, then asked hesitantly, "Is it true the humans sometimes run just because they're late?" Diana's grin widened. "Oh, Blob, wait until you hear about parkour." The station's AI, wisely, chose not to translate that word. The end.